Greetings, salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, every day on the John Campea Show and in the afternoons on Open Mic, we take live questions, but we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions. So I want to make sure those questions do get addressed on a video. So we take those questions that didn't have time for on the live show and we do them here on the companion videos. And look, we're behind a little bit right now, so we got a lot to get through. We're going to do a chunk right now. We've got some more companion videos coming up to make sure we get all caught up. So without wasting any more time, let's dive right into it. And the first question we're getting caught up on today comes to us from Maurice Cook, who writes, "Hey John, is sci-fi movie is dead in Hollywood besides Star Wars and Star Trek, like movie A Space Adventure? We haven't seen a really good movie like it. Your thoughts?" I think what it is Maurice is asking is like, hey, what's up with the sci-fi space adventure movies? We don't see a lot of them other than Star Wars and Star Trek. Now, we've have had a couple of high-profile ones in just the last year or so, like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yes, they're also comic book movies, but I don't think there's any denying there are also sci-fi space movies there too. We had that Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. High profile, didn't do so well at the box office, but high profile. But the point is well made. We don't get a lot of big sci-fi space action adventure movies outside of your prerequisites like Star Wars and Star Trek and things like that, other than a Guardians of the Galaxy or like the odd Valerian, but we don't get many. Why not? I think the main reason is that it's a tough sell. I mean, yeah, there'll be a bunch of people interested, but the thing is, by nature, making a big space-bound action-adventure movie is an expensive endeavor. It's pricey. It costs a lot of money. And whenever you're going to make a movie that costs more money to make, you got to expect bigger returns in the box office. And outside of Star Wars or Star Trek, do you have solid, reliable IP that can guarantee you're going to get a return on that investment? You know, they rolled the dice on Valerian and City of a Thousand Planets. They probably lost a good chunk of change in that movie. So I think there's interest there in doing the big sci-fi space action adventure movies, but it's a tough proposition. Because to convince somebody to put up that kind of money, you also got to be able to convince them they're going to get a return. And it's when you're getting into dollar figures that big, it's tough. So I think we will get more. I can't wait to get more. But yeah, you're right. Not a lot of studios are willing to roll the dice on it because you can lose big money on things like that, kind of like Valerian did. So it's tough. It is really tough. I hope that changes though, Marcus. I really did. Or Maurice, that really should. All right, next up. Jorge Maldonado writes, "Do you think Ant-Man and the Wasp will beat Justice League at the box office?" No, I don't think so. It totally shouldn't. I mean, one is Ant-Man and one is Justice League, so it totally shouldn't, and I don't think it will. Look, Ant-Man and the Wasp will probably end up making more money than the first Ant-Man did, but I don't think it's going to approach, because what was Justice League? I think Justice League was in the neighborhood of somewhere around 680. Hold on a second. Justice League box office. I think it was in the neighborhood of it was $657 million. I don't think Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to make $657 million. So no, I think Justice League will beat out Ant-Man. But again, I mean, Justice League should have been in its sleep a $1 billion movie and should have been a contender to join the $2 billion club. A contender, nobody expected it, but it should have been a contender, at least. So that's unfortunate, but no. I don't see Ant-Man and the Wasp making north. I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp right now is approaching $300 million, and that's great. And it'll get to 4. It'll probably get over 5, but I don't see it getting to 6, and I certainly don't see it getting to 657. So no, I don't think it's going to catch Justice League. Nor should Ant-Man ever beat Justice League. So I don't think that's going to happen either. Let's see. Hudson Smith writes, "The Wedding Singer is my all-time favorite Sandler movie. The ending gets me every time." Wedding Singer's great. I still think for me, there are two that beat it. And that's just for me. Your opinion is no less valid than mine, and mine's just a little bit different. To me, Waterboy and, why am I suddenly freezing on the name of the golf movie? I'm freezing on the name of the golf movie. Hold on a second. What is it called? It's the name of the character. Now this is killing me. I hate that I have to look this up. It's because I was just talking about it the other day. Happy Gilmore. Why did I freeze on that? Anyway, Waterboy and Happy Gilmore are the two Sandler films that, to me, are probably my favorite. Wedding Singer's great. He's got a couple of other really good ones, too. But, yeah, for me, Waterboy will probably always be my all-time favorite Sandler movie. And Happy Gilmore are up there, too. Okay. Cisse writes, what movie this year had you truly absorbed at the cinema? Where you forgot you're in the cinema until those credits roll. Cheers, John from New Zealand. Honestly, none. And it's not that none, at least not off the top of my head, it's not that because there hasn't been any that's been that good. It's that been a number of the movies that have been really, really exceptional this year are also the types of movies that you're very aware that you're in the movie theater. For instance, let's take like A Quiet Place, right? The nature of that movie with the jumps and the whatever, you are constantly reminded you're in the movie theater. That's not a bad thing. It's just you need a specific kind of movie that gets you into the movie and makes you forget that you're in a movie theater. Avengers, Infinity War, constantly you're aware that you're in a movie theater. Ready Player One, constantly reminded you're in a movie theater. There's a lot of movies like that this year, including like A Quiet Place. Even Hereditary, constantly reminded you're in a movie theater. So it's getting completely absorbed into a movie to the point that you forget you're in a theater. That's not a sign of quality, except for very specific types of films. You know, there are other types of films that's not a sign of quality. There are certain types of films where it is. And I honestly, off the top of my head, I can't think of any that did that for me. There are certainly films that are amazing, great films, but the types of films they are by nature films that you are constantly aware you're in the theater enjoying this experience, you know? So yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of any that fit that specific definition, Cisse. Okay, Kick It to the Kings Productions writes, what kind of backlash would Sony face if they did not re-up their deal with Marvel? None. I mean, honestly, the real answer is none. Will some people whine? Yes. Will some people complain? Yes. Will some people scream and throw little hissy fits? Yes. But ultimately, it won't make any difference. It will have no impact one way or the other. And I'm one of those people who go, hey, it's in your best interest to sign this. It's in yours and Disney's best interest to sign the deal. I'll be one of those guys whining and throwing a hissy fit. So for all of you whiners and hissy fit throwers, I'll be there with you. So we'll be there, but it'll just be noise. It'll just be noise. Ultimately, it'll make no impact. Why? Because the people like me who will be whining and crying and throwing hissy fits, we are the vast, vast minority of moviegoers. We are the vast minority of moviegoers. Like, we sometimes forget, like, especially me being in this environment, I sometimes forget that the people, those of us who watch shows like mine, we are the minority of moviegoers. The vast majority of average American moviegoers who go to the movies don't watch movie shows on YouTube, don't listen to movie podcasts. The vast majority of the average moviegoers don't, and they don't care. All they care about is, did they like going to a movie? That's what the majority of them care about. Did I like going to a movie? And if for whatever reason, Sony and Marvel don't come to an agreement to re-up their deal, and I only think they should if it's good for both sides. If Sony thinks they've come up with a way that it can work without Marvel, I understand. But right now, I think this is an arrangement that has worked very well for both Marvel and worked very well for Sony. But whatever. At the end of the day, it won't matter. So in practical terms, will there be a lot of yelling and screaming and shouting and hissy fitting, including coming from this show? Sure, yeah, there will be at first, but ultimately it won't make any difference. They're going to do what they're going to do because they want to make sure they get the average moviegoer. And let's face it too, a lot of you are like me in the sense that I may scream and throw a hissy fit, but the fact of the matter is if they put out a quality movie, that's all I care about. As a film goer, all I care about is once the movie starts, leave all your baggage at the door, go in and watch the movie. Is it a good movie? Was it an enjoyable experience? That's all that matters. And the fact of the matter is, Sony's put out some very enjoyable good movies. They've put out some crap, but they've also put out some very enjoyable movies. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2. I think the first Amazing Spider-Man was fantastic. The second Amazing Spider-Man obviously took a dip in quality. But look, and let's see, if Venom works, like, oh my God, if Venom can make like $400 million, Sony may be very emboldened. Now, look, I read people then go, we have to organize and get people to not go see Venom. So, well, okay, now you have an agenda. All we as film fans should be about is good movies. That's it. And that means if Venom may be garbage, by the way. So let's keep Venom might even be garbage. But if Venom is a quality movie, then we should support it. That's anything other than that is just you trying to push your dogma and your agenda on other people. And that would be me too. I'd be guilty of that too. At the end, look, I'm always saying, regardless of what our expectations are, regardless of what our preconceived ideas are, and it's fine to have expectations and preconceived ideas, but I'm always saying, but when the movie now comes out, leave your baggage at the door. I have to do this all the time. Leave my baggage at the door. Go in, watch the movie, judge the movie accordingly, and treat the movie accordingly. And look, if we go in to see Venom and it's a good movie, then I need to shut up and just come out and say, you know what? It was a good movie. But John, should we avoid it to make sure Sony doesn't succeed and Sony doesn't take Spider-Man away from Marvel? No, because then you're just trying to push your own agenda. And what we should be about is quality movies, supporting quality movies, rewarding quality movies. And if, it's a big if Venom is a quality movie, then we as film fans should support it. Don't push your religious, because that's what it is. It's a religious, fanatical view in terms of movies about, well, I don't care if it's good. I'm gonna organize against it because it's just whatever. We should be about supporting quality movies. And if, again, it's a huge if Venom comes out and if it's quality, we should encourage it. I mean, that's just the way I see it. Don't get me wrong. I love having Spider-Man in the MCU. I do. He's been great in it. But if they go a different way, if Venom turns out to be good, and again, it might be crap, it might suck ass, right? If it sucks ass, then let's say it sucks ass, and we'll dump on it for sure. But if it's good, leave your religious agenda at the door, and just call it as we see it. If it's a quality movie, it's a quality movie, and we should endorse it, and we should support it. That's what we're always saying, right? We're always saying we need to support quality films. If Venom comes out and it's quality, we need to support it. That's why this whole thing about just, I just don't get it. I don't get how you call yourself a film fan if you go, well, regardless of how good the film is, see right there, you've lost. As soon as somebody goes, regardless of how good or bad the film is, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. But whatever. Regardless of how good the film is, I'm not going to go see it because agenda. I mean, how about this? How about you heard the movie was terrible and that's why you don't go see it? Fine. This whole thing about the Spider-Man situation, look, I just want good movies. That's all I want. I think that's all you guys want. And if Sony can make good movies in their own universe, Godspeed. God bless you. Marvel will continue to make great movies without Spider-Man. And maybe Sony can do some new things. Again, I think a lot depends on Venom. Because if Venom sucks, and that ends this conversation really quick, if Venom's really good, it opens up a lot of conversations we had to have. So it's a tricky situation. It is. For a lot of people, I just really want to emphasize that I really believe, as film fans, our number one priority should be encouraging, supporting, and rewarding quality filmmaking. To hell with the agendas. If it's a good film, call it a good film. Leave your baggage at the door when the movie opens and reward it as such. Now, you may say, I really like Spider-Man in the MCU. So do I. But first priority as a film fan is support quality films. And if a film comes out and is quality, support it. But anyway, there's like 85 different angles to take on that thing too. But yeah, believe me, believe you me, the day they announced that Sony's pulling Spider-Man out of the MCU, the whining, crying, and hissy-fitting, some of that's going to be coming from me. So I'm kind of also sitting here preaching to myself a little bit. It's like future me is saying, John, reward quality filmmaking, see Venom, judge Venom on its own merits, and decide how it's going to apply to the Spider-Man situation, blah, blah. That's future me talking to current me of when Sony pulls Spider-Man out of the MCU, I'm going to be the whiny, crying, hissy-fitting baby. That's going to be me, and I'm kind of trying to convince myself right now. It's like I'm recording this right now so I can watch it again in the future. You know, sometimes you see in those time-traveling movies, guys leave messages for myself. Don't eat the blueberry pie, William. Don't do it. And the guy's looking at himself, telling himself, whoa, I'm telling myself not to eat the blueberry pie. But the blueberry pie looks delicious. That's kind of what I'm doing to myself right here. I'm just kind of preaching to myself at the moment. So thank you for indulging me as I preach to myself. Okay, let's move on here. Maurice Cooks writes, also, was there any plans for Tropic Thunder 2? Actually, there were plans. Actually, there was even, if I'm not mistaken, a script was written. From the way I understand it, a script for Tropic Thunder 2 was written. A writer was hired. They wrote the script. There were talks about doing another one. I think the first hurdle they faced was scheduling. Because, let's face it, Robert Downey Jr.'s availability became very different long after Tropic Thunder. Ben Stiller's always, Jack Black's busy, and on and on and on and on. So you got a very weird collection of guys there with very different and busy schedules. So that became the first hurdle. And then it became, well, can we really recapture that magic in a bottle? Matthew McConaughey wasn't like, can we really, Tom Cruise, can we ever manage to get all these schedules to align again? And then the other question became understanding what it may take for us to get all of that lined up. Can we capture that magic in a bottle again? And I think that those two questions just kind of derailed the whole thing, if I understood it right. Now, the stories that I'm getting could completely be wrong, so take that with a giant grain of salt. That's just what I'm hearing. I have no idea if that's verifiable or true or not. I remember there's also talk about a Les Grossman, the character that Tom Cruise. By the way, Tropic Thunder saved Tom Cruise's career. A lot of people forget Tom Cruise's career was on a at the time. That movie came out, totally changed people's perceptions of Tom Cruise. It was in all of the great things Tom Cruise has done in his career, doing that character in Tropic Thunder was the single best thing he ever did. It totally revitalized his career. It totally changed public's perception of him. It was brilliant. And I love the character. Oh my God, I love that character. But there was also talk about doing a standalone Les Grossman movie. That came close on a couple of occasions too. Whether or not a Tropic Thunder 2 will ever happen, it's doubtful. But damn, it would be great. I would also love to see a standalone Les Grossman movie. It just, best end credit scene ever is Tom Cruise going in, putting on, I believe it was Ludacris, putting on that Ludacris too. All I'm faced with things I don't want to hear. Get back, mother. You don't know me like that. I mean, that scene with him just dancing along. I mean, oh my God, I can watch that all the time. I can watch that video all day. It's so good. Okay, Degato1 writes, all the Fallout reactions are getting even, oh, you mean Mission Impossible Fallout. All the Fallout reactions are getting me even more excited than I already was. When are you seeing it? You know, there was a screening for it last week. You guys know what my week was like last week, so I didn't go. I think I'm seeing it soon. I'd have to pop up my calendar and take a look. I think I'm seeing it soon. Anyway, has like a 90+% of Rotten Tomatoes. People are talking, I mean, it ranges from a bunch of people saying, oh my God, this is like one of the best films of the year to, hey, this is a really solid movie. Maybe not best films of the year kind of thing, but really solid. The bottom line is the vast majority of the people who've seen this film say it's good. That's the important thing. The trailers have looked spectacular. I love that they got Henry Cavill in there. Tom Cruise is at the peak of his game right now. Even as he's getting older and he's aging at this point, he's still at the top of his game. Everything looks so good about this. I was really thrilled to see that the reactions coming out are really that positive. So fingers crossed. I believe it's the 27th it opens, I think. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's it. Okay, next one. Gabe Campbell writes, Slither is awesome. Nathan Fillion is the man. We've been talking about that movie, Slither, directed by James Gunn, the guy who directed Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. A lot of you guys still have not seen Slither. Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks, Micah Rocker. Movie is freaking awesome. One of the most underappreciated films. I put it and Stardust, like right up there for me amongst the most underappreciated films ever. That's just how good Slither is. Make sure you guys check out Slither, and Nathan Fillion is the man in that movie. All right, Patrick Conway writes, will Selvig and Cho, one that built Vision, again? Oh, we'll see. You're probably asking, will we see Selvig and Cho? So Selvig, of course, is the professor character who's in Thor the Dark World. He's there with Natalie Portman's character a bunch. So he's that. Cho, I believe her first name's Helen. The Cho character is that Asian doctor girl. There, I should create my own show. Asian doctor girl. She's the one who fixed Hawkeye in Ultron when he got butchered up. She's also the girl who, like, when they said they're going to throw a party in Ultron, she says she can't go because she's busy, but then she goes, is Thor going to be there? And then she goes, she's really hot too, by the way. I think we'll see her again. I don't think we'll see Selvig again. I don't think we're going to see that character. I do think we'll see Cho. I have no insider information that verifies that. I just think that's the case. So I think we're going to see her again because she's a nice side character. And in these types of movies, it's always good to have nice, solid little side characters. I think she's kind of like an Alfred, right? Like, she's sitting there maintaining, fixing people up, doing all the behind-the-scenes stuff. She's kind of like Batman's Alfred for the Avengers in some ways. So I think we'll see her again. Again, I have no knowledge if they have any plans for that, but I think they will. All right. Vince Carter of Mars writes, thoughts on the movie Grandma's Boy. Oh my God. Remember I just said most underrated films of all time, Slither and Stardust. In the comedy category of that heading has got to be Grandma's Boy. You know, I recently, about a year or two, I put together my list of my top 10 favorite comedies of all time. Grandma's Boy didn't make it on, although I thought it would. It just fell outside the top 10. It is awesome. If you've not seen Grandma's Boy, I think it came out in like 2006. And it's a little dated. It's a little dated because it revolves a lot around the video game industry. So it's a little dated. Granted, oh my, Kevin Nealon was so good in that. Dante was so good in that. Anyway, it's so freaking funny. It's just straight up hilarious. And I remember when I went to the theater to see that movie. And it was just one of those things, I don't really got anything else to see, but me and a couple friends just felt like going to the movies, went to go see this. It looks like a throwaway movie. Let's go watch it. Blah, 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 blah. And came out going, what did I just watch? It's hilarious. And it's made by all these, and the lead guy in it was like never a lead guy in everything else. He's popped up here and there in small roles and other Adam Sandler stuff, but he's part of that whole Adam Sandler, David Spade, crew of friends. So he pops up in tiny little roles and other, but they gave him the lead role in this one, and he was great in it. The movie is funny. It's hilarious. I cannot recommend that movie enough. Seriously. Oh my God, Grandma's Boy. Vince Carter Mars, thank you for bringing that up. I do not mention Grandma's Boy nearly enough. That movie is fucking hilarious. I didn't mean to swear on today's show, but the movie is hilarious, man. Check it out. Patrick Conway writes, read that The Rock agreed to be Adam back in 2009. You probably mean Black Adam. Well, look, there were stories about 2009, 2010, 2011. That is when there were talks and agreements and then it didn't happen, blah, blah, blah. That's all up in the air. When it was finally done and they actually announced, like they publicly stated, he's going to be Black Adam, we're talking 2013, 2014 at CinemaCon in Las Vegas. I was there. I was there in the audience at Caesar's Palace in the big auditorium that they've got there. And Rock came out, they made the announcement that he was going to play Black Adam, fantastic, all that kind of stuff. And then years and years and years. Now, yes, there was talk for years prior to that about The Rock taking on the role, but it was never official. It became official back in 2013, 2014, and nothing's happened since, and he's not going to be in the Shazam movie. So, I mean, that's leading a lot of us to wonder, look, is this movie even ever going to happen? Who knows? Okay. Next one comes to us from Der Wunderbar, who writes, seen Ice Station Zebra, John. Is that the Ernest Borgnine movie? Ernest Borgnine was Rock Hudson who was in that with him? Anyway, if it's the movie I'm thinking about, and it may not be the movie I'm thinking about, that happens sometimes. Ice Station Zebra was like in 1965 or something. Hold on a second. Ice Station Zebra. There it is. 1968, sorry, is when it came out. And yeah, it was Rock Hudson, Ernest Borgnine. Jim Brown was in that movie too. Yeah, so it was a movie, if I remember it right, it was like, I think I've seen it once when I was much, much younger. It's like about a submarine that's got to go rescue some scientists from the Arctic or something like that. Anyway, yes, I've seen it. I remember that Ernest Borgnine was in it, though. And I only remember it because Ernest Borgnine was in it. Ernest Borgnine was just one of my favorite actors. As a much younger kid, I knew Ernest. My first exposure to Ernest Borgnine was when he was in Airwolf, the TV show. Anyway, Airwolf, one of the greatest TV themes of all time. So it's about the helicopter show with Jan Michael Vincent. Anyway, so Ernest Borgnine was in that, and then I realized, oh, he's been a big movie star for a long time. Then I used to watch some old Ernest Borgnine movies, and then I would always totally take notice when Ernest Borgnine would pop up in other movies, whether it was popping up in Red. I loved his little appearance in Red. He's popped up in a bunch of films up until when he passed away. So that's the only reason I remember that movie at all, is because he was in it. So yeah, I saw it, but yeah, that's a deep cut. That Ice Station Zebra is a deep cut. Brian Esparza writes, did A24 drop A Prayer Before Dawn? Not that I know of. I mean, A Prayer Before Dawn is this little film they already started marketing. About this dude who goes into a Thai prison. I think he's a boxer, and then he learns kickboxing in the Thai prison, stuff like that. Some of you guys probably saw the trailer. If you're not, you just look up A Prayer Before Dying, or A Prayer Before Dying is a different thing. A Prayer Before Dawn trailer. You should be able to find it. I have not heard that A24 dropped it. I mean, maybe they haven't. It just kind of slipped under the radar, but to the best of my knowledge, they haven't. But maybe they have, and I just didn't notice it, or like I said, slid under my radar. Brian Esparza writes, have you seen the leaked toy of Black Manta? I did. I'm undecided about it. I'm undecided about it because it's quite true to the comic book, depending on which version of the comic book you're talking about. It's quite true to the rendition of the character in the comic. It seems like they de-emphasize the size of the head, which is a good thing. I'm still iffy on it. I'm going to have to see it. I think they should have adapted it a lot more, but they didn't, and that's fine. Let's see it in context. So I'm going to reserve judgment until I see it in context in the movie. Right now, I'm iffy on it. I'm undecided on it, but who knows? Maybe in context in the movie, I'll be completely sold on it. Look, at the end of the day, it's just a costume. It doesn't really matter, but we'll see how I feel about it once I see it in context. Centaur24 writes, have you seen the fan movie Darth Maul Apprentice by German film students here on YouTube? Great fighting choreographies and a very subtle but effective use of force powers. Yeah, that came out years ago. I remember seeing that. It's in many ways, it's a very standard Star Wars fan film. Bunch of people in Jedi costumes in a forest. So there you go. So it happens before the events of the Phantom Menace, I believe, is when it's kind of set. Basically, it's a big showpiece to show off some lightsaber duels. If I remember it right, the lightsaber dueling in it is quite impressive. Because it's like Darth Maul, and if I remember right, the dude looked exactly like Ray Park. I mean, at least in the makeup. He looked exactly like Darth Maul from the movies, which is great. And there's like 6 or 7 Jedi he comes across in the forest, and he's got to fight them all and blah, blah, blah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I do remember the lightsaber choreography rivaled that of anything you've seen in the movies. It did rival anything that I've seen in the movies. I remember that. So check it out. It's on YouTube, Darth Maul Apprentice. All right, next one. Der Wunderbar writes, Tom Waits is also multi-talented. He's done movies, theater, cabarets. He's a singer, done art. I dig that guy. Yeah, to me, Tom Waits will always be the Doc from Mystery Men. I mean, with all the other things Tom Waits has done in his career, you guys know what a special place in my heart Mystery Men has. A movie that was way before its time. That movie was so far ahead of its time. So far ahead of its time. It's just, it's like Ben Stiller and crew had a crystal ball that saw into the future and made a movie about the way movies are going to be in 20 years. It's great. Janine Garofalo, Hank Azaria, Paul Rubin, Casanova Frankenstein, Jeffrey Rush as Casanova Frankenstein, Captain Amazing, the Disco Boys. I mean, disco is life. It's awesome. Oh my God. If you're looking for a doubleheader this weekend, Grandma's Boy and Mystery Men. You can't go wrong. You're welcome. And anyway, so when I think of Tom Waits and like Greg Kinnear has done many wonderful things with his career. That's awesome. To me, he'll always be Captain Amazing. And so I always think, so like Greg Kinnear, when I think of Tom Waits, I will always just think of Mystery Men. That's what I always think of. All right, let's see here. Just a few more left. Anthony R. writes, what happened to Coruscant? It's one of the most important planets in Star Wars, home to the Jedi, Republic, and Empire. Do you think JJ will include it in Episode 9? Maybe. So my understanding from all the novels and everything is that once the Empire was gotten rid of, they decide, I believe, I could be wrong, people correct me on this, I believe a decision was made that the capital world of the Republic would be moved around every 50 years, every 10 years. I can't remember. So when we come into The Force Awakens, it was on Hosnian Prime. So instead of having just one planet that was constantly the center of the universe, to spread it around. So for a number of years or decades, Hosnian Prime would be the capital world of the Republic. And then, some years later, it would move and the capital world becomes somewhere else. So I believe that was the case. With Hosnian Prime being destroyed, it does open the doors. Like, hey, we just need to regroup. Let's get back to the Senate on Coruscant. And a lot of bad things happen on Coruscant. Maybe that's one of the, but maybe we'll see JJ go back to it. It would make sense. It would make sense for them to go back to that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, Anthony. I would not be surprised at all if JJ does go back to Coruscant on that. Brian Esparza, final question of the day. Brian Esparza writes, Joaquin is my favorite actor, I should say. Where does he rank with you? He plays such diverse roles, completely different in Her compared to You Were Never Really Here. He's a very intense performer. He can do funny comedy. I mean, he can't do traditional comedy, although he's got this new movie coming out. We talked about it on the show the other day. He's got this new movie coming out called Sisters Brothers, where it's a Western, and him and John C. Reilly are a couple of brothers called the Sisters Brothers, because their last name is Sisters. Anyway, the Sisters Brothers, and Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. Riz Ahmed is in it. It looks great, and it looks funny. So I was about to say, Joaquin Phoenix can do funny, but not traditional funny. But you know what? Then I remember this trailer for Sisters Brothers, and it has a little bit more of a traditional comedy feel to it, like playing off John C. Reilly. And he felt pretty good in it. So you're right. He's a guy. Where does he rank? Probably just a hair outside of my top 5. So in there, I've got my Russell Crowes, my Daniel Day-Lewis's, a Leonardo DiCaprio, a Chiwetel Ejiofor, but there's that upper, and he even might be in that upper. Like, he's not in my top 3, but he's up there. I mean, he's way up there. Maybe top 5, if not in top 5, then he's just barely out of the top 5 for me. But I mean, bottom line is, he's awesome. And that's one of the big reasons why, quite frankly, I'm getting excited. I'm not just okay with the idea of a standalone Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I'm actually getting excited about the notion of this film, because he's going to be playing it. And I know what he can bring to that. And imagining what kind of incarnation of the Joker we're going to get. And we know how picky he is with his roles. And he said he read the script and it scares him. I mean, what's not to be excited about? So I'm actually getting excited about it. And he's the main reason for it. All right, guys. that will do it for today's installment of the companion video. Thank you so much for joining me. Listen, don't forget, every morning at 8:30 in the morning, we've got the John Campea Show, talking about all the newest movie news. Make sure you come and join us for that. And then in the afternoons at 2 p.m., we've got open mic, where we just open live questions discussing the issues of the day and anything else you guys want to talk about as well. Okay, guys, that will do it for me. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.